Ipswich Reserve. We're with you for a fantastic round 10 clash between the Central Queensland Capras and the Luxury Paints Ipswich Jets. Great to have you with us on Phoenix Radio, phoenix.com.au. Smith somehow right down the eastern touchline, 12-4 the score. Well, the first attacking opportunity the Capras had.
Hello and welcome to another edition of After the 80, your local source for everything rugby league. Joining me on the panel as always is my good mate, Anthony Bomber Breeze. Bomber, it was a big weekend in the rugby league, both in local and national level with the State of Origin teams and a lot of football over the weekend. How'd you find it all?
Yeah, no, there was some interesting results from the Rugby League Ipswich there. Obviously, the Broncos kicked into gear at NRL, and obviously the Origin teams were named, so obviously we'll get into that a little bit later. So.
Yeah, it's tipster's nightmare on the RLI over the weekend again. Also joining us on the panel today is the under-19s West End coach, Jae Woodward. Thanks for coming back on.
Thanks, Ben.
Always good to have you, mate. And also joining us from Swift Bluebirds is their hooker, Crossan. Thanks for coming on the show, mate.
Thanks very much, mate. Good to be here.
And good to have you after a win as well.
Yeah, it's a good time to come after a win.
Well, let's jump straight into the action from round 9 of the Rugby League Ipswich Competition, which kicked off on Sunday with Brothers Ipswich taking on the Swift Bluebirds at Brother Siri Oval. Now, when these two teams met in round 2, Brothers proved too good, taking a 20-16 win, but on Sunday it was Swifts who took a 32-24 victory in a fierce competition between the two great teams. Bomber Swifts are now in a three-way tie for first position on 21 points. Was this the result you were expecting on Sunday?
No, it wasn't, Ben. Actually, it was actually 33-24. Harold kicked a field goal there towards the end of the game there, but I thought it'd be a close game there. But I thought Brothers might just get out on top there after the loss of Swifts to North the previous week. So, but it was a different Swiss team that turned up. They turned up wanting to win, wanting to play there, and they just seemed to go through the middle of Brothers, which a lot of teams don't go through the middle. They go out a little bit wide, but that was a great win by Swifts.
Jesse, was a big performance from Telly in your number 8 as well. He was pretty much a big handful for the Brothers' defence, but you just proved too quick, I think, at certain stages of the game.
Yeah, he's good every week. He plays 80 minutes front row every week. Both front rows had a good game on the weekend, and then Elliott backed it up at lock there. He had a blinder. So. And
Ratu at fullback as well, scooting through off a nice tap as well.
Every time he gets the ball, he nearly goes through. He's a half break, so I don't know. He's unbelievable. He's just that strong too. He just always seems to get through.
I guess going into the game, were you expecting to get one up on Brothers at their home ground? That's one of the toughest games of the year you're going to come up against.
Well, I think we expected to win. We go on there to play football, and the coaching staff had us fired up for that one. I don't think we dropped the ball in the warm-up. We were ready to go.
Excellent. Well, you survived a late scare in the final stages as well. You had one of the Brothers players sent off in James Haynes for a professional foul, but that lifted Brothers, unfortunately, and made it harder on you guys.
Yeah, I think we just switched off a little bit. And, I don't know, I forget I think we were up by 14 or something, and just switched off, got them back into the game, and then we finished them off again late. So
yep, it was a good effort to regather, I guess, and finish it off like that as well.
Yeah, we were a bit lucky too, but got the points in the end. That's the main thing.
Excellent. Well, it was a good game to watch. Moving on to the second game of the round, it was between the reigning premiers, the Goodna Eagles, and the Fassifern Bombers out at Hayes Oval. This time it was Fassifern who got a 56-14 win, which brings them 1 point out of top spot on the Mayor Paul Pasali ladder and with a game in hand. Jay, we were talking on the show last week that we expected Goodna to be too strong for Fassifern out there, even though it was at Fassifern's home ground, but weren't expecting that kind of scoreline at all.
Yeah, these two clubs always have a big game against each other, and they seem to find an extra foot when they got that home game. Goodna seemed to struggle travelling out to Fassifern, and when you get Fassifern travelling into Goodna too, the scorelines can be flipped over. So, well, it probably was a bit surprising. If you look over the last few years, the results are probably pretty close to what usually happens. So,
yeah. Well, last week we had Fassifern go down to Brothers, and then now we've got Swifts over Brothers and Goodna, Fassifern over Goodna. It's getting hard to predict, mate.
Yeah, well, I think them top 4 sides there, well, top 5 sides, they all seem to be beating each other. So, like I said earlier, it's a tipster's nightmare there. It was always going to be probably the game of the round out there, like between the two teams, but I don't think anybody would have predicted that score. When I was getting the scores through, it just kept getting higher and higher. So, but obviously, I was out there the week before, and Fassifern were a little bit poor against Brothers, but obviously, like I said, it's a mind thing sometimes there. You have to come to the game switched on and, like Jesse said, wanting to win and all that there. If you come to the game wanting to win and think you can win, well, you're always a chance. So.
Well, it was interesting getting the updates from the third game of the round as well, which was North's Tigers up against the Eastern Cobras, and it was another big score with a 52-14 win to the Tigers over the Cobras at their home ground at Crib Park. And last time these two teams met in round 2, it was the North's Tigers who scored 52 points against the Cobras 10 again. So another big score for them this week.
Yeah, well, I think Norths are probably one of the danger teams now. Like, not many people are talking about them. They always talk about Brothers, Goodner and Fassifern as being the top 3 there, and you've always got the North and the Swifts around there. But as long as they keep putting the performances on the board, the Swifts and the Norths there, they're going to climb the ladder and come finals time towards the end of the year there. It's going to be a great battle. So.
Well, as we bring up the ladder as well, it's as you mentioned, it's a bit of a bottleneck up at the top at the moment. North's coming back on top after last year. They had a bit of a slow season last year with a fair few injuries to their A grade side, but showing no signs of that problem this year. We've got Fassifern there on 20 points just behind the top 3, but they've got a game in hand against the Eastern Cobras, which based on form you'd imagine that they should win that game, which would put them at the top of the ladder, which definitely brings it interesting to see Brothers in the bottom possibly bottom 3.
Yeah, well, if you look at the ladder there, you can't get it much closer there anyway. 23 on 21 at the top of the ladder. I think it's been unprecedented this early in the season. Normally there's one team that begins the season well and goes undefeated, but like I said, it's a very close competition, and that's why, just we're saying, every win's vital. So if you can win your games at home, you have to try and win games away. So it's very vital to win.
Jesse, you'd be pretty happy to see yourselves up there at number 2, and good for and against for you guys at the moment as well. Yeah,
it just goes to show how important the for and against is, I suppose, when everyone's on the. But like Bomber said, everyone's beaten everyone this year, so
yep. I guess
shows up.
Home and away doesn't seem to matter too much either.
Not really, not the way all the results are going.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, if you show up ready to go, I think that's who gets the win on the day.
That's it. Well, Stephen's got to keep you guys fired up for the rest of the season, then, hasn't
hopefully he will.
You'll get the whip out. Well, moving on to the QRL now, and round 11 kicked off on Saturday at North Ipswich Reserve, where the Ipswich Jets were hosting the PNG Hunters in their annual Harmony Day game between these two teams. It's always a great day to be at North Ipswich Reserve for this one, and it brings a big crowd for a very good cause, and we'd like to thank everyone who was involved for making this day happen and what it means for the sport, especially for the PNG crowd that were there on the day. We'll be reviewing that game in just a moment, but moving on to the second game on Saturday, where the Sunshine Coast Falcons hosted the Mackay Cutters. The Cutters came out strong in the first half with 2 tries in the first 30 minutes of play, but it was the Sunshine Coast who answered back with back-to-back tries through Jerome Hughes, who got a double in the second half. Bomber, it was a close game in the first half, but the Sunshine Coast just came out too strong in the second and got the win. You expecting that over the Cutters?
Well, I was expecting the Sunny Coast to win because they're a very good side there. They probably haven't produced the year so far as what they're looking for, but they are starting to build there. But they just got to begin games a little bit early. They let Mackay get away from them early there, but they did reel them in. But if you let a Redcliffe get away or a PNG or a Blackhawks get away, they're not going to reel them in. So
it's a bit of the Storm system, I guess, to buckle down like that, though, after giving away a bit of a lead, to still be able to roll it back in.
Oh, well, obviously a lot of it does carry up from the Melbourne Storm there. They have probably a lot of the same training techniques that that Bellamy uses down there at Melbourne. So.
You think he passes on the volatile coaching techniques as well in the box?
No, I'm sure he's a little bit calmer up here, the Sunny Coast coach. So.
The other interesting game that I saw from the results there was the Blackhawks. Jay, were you expecting that kind of result?
Yeah, well, it was it ended up being a real close game, didn't it? So 26-all. It was a TV game, and probably one of the best games I've seen this year.
Yeah.
They both sides really knuckled down and played some good footy. Colin Anderson was awesome at the back, and they all stood up both sides. So.
Especially after the Jets went up there to the Capras home ground and got the win, you'd expect them to go up to Townsville and have a hard time up against the Blackhawks.
You would think so, but they're obviously primed for the game, a bit like the RLI. You show up on the day ready and willing to have a dig, and anything can happen.
Well, now to the game in focus this week between the Ipswich Jets and the PNG Hunters, and it was the Hunters who put a stop to the Jets' winning streak, unfortunately. It was a fierce competition between these two teams on Harmony Day, and as always, the hard-working students from USQ were at the ground bringing all the action live via the Phoenix Media Hub. PNG came out strong in the first half and showed why they are such a powerful side this season, getting 3 converted tries in the first half alone, keeping the Ipswich Jets scoreless heading into the halftime break. Ipswich had a glimmer of hope getting back-to-back tries in the 60th minute to bring the score back to 20-12, but PNG answered with their own attack, getting tries in the 73rd minute to close out the game with a 32-12 victory. Bomwu, what did you make of that game there? I think it was obviously the Jets would have liked a better start against the Hunters.
Yeah, well, the first half was probably one of the Jets' worst half of the year, to be honest. I was calling the game for the Phoenix radio there, and they just not that their defence was that bad, but their attack was pretty poor there. They had a lot of offloads there, but all the offloads were going to players in worse positions, or the ball was going to ground there. So, but all credit to PNG there. Their captain Asbar was probably man of the match. He stood up, directed them around well, and Watson Boas, the halfback, and Big Wellington Albert there.
How did you go with pronouncing the names for the PNG Hunters side?
Well,
I heard you gave Bisho a bit of a stitch up, getting him to read out the team list.
Yeah. Well, I'm always good at calling out the names in the local comp, so I thought I'd give Bisho, and he did quite well actually. So
yeah, I think you were mentioning there was a good crowd for the PNG Hunters. They seem to follow the team around when they come across the ditch.
Yeah, well, I think ever since they've been in the Intrust there, all the people from PNG that obviously live around the Brisbane area or in the southeast Queensland area, I think they go to all their games, so they obviously get to see their families and they're at the game, so that's why there's always a big crowd. And the rain may have kept a few people away, but in the end there was a good crowd and obviously a good win for PNG on the Harmony Day. And
it takes them to the top of the ladder, so not too many surprises in terms of what you're expecting from the Hunters on the weekend, but it was just disappointing to see the Jets end their 4-game winning streak, which had really helped them move up the ladder.
Yeah, well, it was for the Jets there. They were poor in the first half. They were real good in the second half there. When Liam Capel got injured there, Wes Conlon went out on the wing, but when they had the ball, he came in dummy half and he really sparked them. They were a threat in the second half with Wes Conlon. So.
Celebrating his 50th game on the weekend as well for the Jets colours, which was good to see for the veteran. Well, coming up later on the program, we'll be discussing the State of Origin 2017 team list and reviewing the action from Suncorp Stadium on Friday night with the Brisbane Broncos against the West Tigers. All that and more here on After the 80. Welcome back to After the 80, your local source for everything rugby league. And on Friday night, the Brisbane Broncos continued their winning streak, getting a 36-0 win over the West Tigers in wet conditions at Suncorp Stadium. Bomber the Tigers just couldn't find a way through the Brisbane Broncos defence all game. Yeah,
I think they're always going to do it tough there. They've lost a few players. Obviously, Mitchell Moses leaving. Obviously, left a big gap
midweek
around the ruck, and obviously, if your halfback hasn't been playing there, it's going to be hard for the forwards there. But they just didn't seem to give much of a help there. I thought James Tedesco had a huge game for them. He scored 3 tries, but they were all called back. But the Brisbane were just too big and too strong, and as you can see, by too fast. So.
Even spending 10 minutes in the sin bin at one stage, but it was some good work from the Brisbane Broncos wingers. Jay, were you impressed with Corey Oates? Do you think he solidified that maroon spot?
Yeah, well, he's been having a stellar year. Whether it be my picket on the wing or not, Kevy's showing faith in him, and he played a good game on the weekend. So.
Jesse, it was a good game from Nicarima. I guess he's done a good job filling in for Ben Hunt, who was tipped to come back this week, but he's been on a good streak.
Well, he's planning to extend his contract, isn't he? So he needs to string a few together and then stay at the Broncos.
And I guess he'll, with Anthony Milford named in the Maroon side, I guess he'll probably get another chance alongside Ben Hunt as well as another halves partner over that Origin period.
Well, that's it. Now he can really prove himself with the Origin boys being out.
He's been a good bench utility for them, but do you think his role's in the halves if he gets the chance?
Yeah, I think he'll start next year. I definitely think he'll be the number 7 for Brisbane next year.
Yep, well, they'll have some money to flow around, that's for sure. It was another good game there from another buy for the Broncos this season in Corbin Sims.
Yeah, well, obviously Corbin, he was a cheap buy. He wanted to come up here, so when you want to go to a club and you want to take less money and all that, there obviously he wanted to perform and he is performing. So.
Broncos always seem to struggle through the Origin period. I guess was that good signs for them to get a winning streak leading up to that period?
Oh, definitely. Brisbane, Melbourne, they're the sides that sort of seem to taper away through Origin. I think Brisbane's probably got a little bit more depth there coming over previous seasons, and hopefully they're strong enough to keep moving forward. So.
Well, it was the return of one of the Blues hopefuls in James Roberts for the Brisbane Broncos on the weekend, and he made an instant impact, making a great line break and streaming through the centre of the field. Unfortunately, a bit of a controversial pass at the end of it, though.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of them this year. We don't want to keep harping on them, but obviously James Roberts, he is in form, and he's a speed machine. So give him the ball in the clear there, and you can nearly put. And he's done that a couple of times this year. You've seen him race away, turn the fullback inside out, and either score the try himself or pass it off. So.
Well, you can't really blame the refs for having a hard time to keep up with his pace when he's streaming through like that. But a great game for an Ipswich local in Joe Offengowie, as we just saw him offloading to a fellow Ipswich product in Anthony Milford. A great double by the Ipswich players.
Yeah. Well, obviously some Peter Clover boys are coming through the system down there. So no, and obviously Joey has to keep performing there to keep his contract. So.
I guess I would have said that was Joe's best game for the Broncos so far.
Yeah. Well, he was a little bit last year there, where he got dropped there, and obviously needed to come back, and he has come back this year. In the games that he has played up there, he's been strong, and that probably was his best game. So the Origin periods where he got his crack last year, when they were all out and he got a starting position and he just didn't take it. So hopefully this time he takes it, and then they keep him. So.
Well, the young brigade's been doing well for the Broncos so far this season. Wayne Bennett's been blooding them throughout the season so far. I guess any predictions of how the Broncos are going to go without so many players missing for the Origin period, though?
I think I think Wayne Bennett's got him a little bit more prepared. Like you said, he's been blooding these younger guys, and it's their opportunity to step up and take it and cement spots for the future years and cement contracts.
I guess, Jesse, you know what it's like when you lose some experience out of a side like that. Is it up to the coach to inspire them over this period in Wayne Bennett, or is it up to the players themselves, as you said, for Nicarima, players like that who are playing for contracts to really take it upon themselves?
Yeah, I think it'll be a bit of both, but mainly some senior players that aren't playing Origin, they'll really step up for the Broncos, I think, and they should be right through this period.
They've still got some plenty of experience
across
that park, don't they? Well, yesterday afternoon, the State of Origin 2017 teams were announced, with some controversy coming from the Queensland camp as Darius Boyd was selected over Billy Slater at fullback. It was a very hard decision for Kevin Walters as he discussed it with the media yesterday afternoon, with Anthony Milford and Dylan Napper getting their Origin debut, with Jonathan Thurston named as 18th man, obviously under an injury cloud at the moment. Bomber, any surprises for you in the Queensland team? Do you think Kevy made the right decision having Darius there at fullback instead of Billy the Kid?
Billy the Kid. Get it out. Oh, well, obviously, if I was selecting that side there, I would have had Slater there. He's a dangerous option there. He just, but take nothing away from Darius Boyd. He's a current Brisbane fullback, captain in great form there. He's the current Australian fullback for the last couple of years. Billy's been out there, but Billy has come back strong. And being a New South Wales supporter, I'm glad that they have picked Boyd. So I'm really scared of Billy and what he's done to us over previous years. So
yeah, he's got great reputation in the Origin arena, I guess. Do you think that they could have somehow fit him in there in the side, Jay?
Yeah, well, he would have been my fullback, and would have been a bit of some changes in the back line to fit Darius on a wing. But
who would you have left out?
Probably Justin O'Neill.
Yeah. He's had good form in the Origin period as well. I guess you'd be judging that on their performance this season, though.
Yeah, definitely. I think Dane Gagai has probably been a standout centre this year, and could have slipped into that centre role and had Darius outside of him. But in saying that too, you got Valentine Holmes who missed out, and
Australian winger.
yeah, and
doesn't make the state side.
Probably the best winger for the last 12 months. It just goes to show Kevy decided to stick with a bit of experience and have a few guys in the back line that have done it for him before, I guess.
But talking about Gagai there before, remember last year, he was the winger last year there and he scored, 3 tries in one of the games. I think he nearly got man of the match. So even though he has been the form centre there, obviously out onto the wing there, he had a great game last year for him. So
It does... Origin is a different beast. I guess it takes different players to step up to that level. I guess you have to stick to some loyalty as well with the players who have performed.
Yeah, well, he has probably with Nat Miles and probably Jacob Lillyman there. Probably not in the best of form there, but he knows what they can do. He knows they're Origin players, and he knows on the night that they can handle it. So.
Jesse, I guess the exciting thing for us is to have Anthony Milford making a debut in the Maroons colours. I guess it was always a matter of time when he was going to get his chance in there, but do you think it came at the right time?
Yeah, him and Dylan Napa I'm excited to see.
Yep.
They both earned their spots. I think they both probably would have been there last year if they didn't get in a bit of trouble.
I see him as Napa as a bit of a anti-Clemmer.
Yeah.
He can neutralise that kind of aggression that they're going to pull out in there.
That's going to be exciting for all of us to watch because they went at each other in the Bulldogs-Roosters game on the weekend too, so hopefully it carries on to next Wednesday night.
Well, it's a bit different not having Matt Scott and a couple of other senior players like that. Obviously, Jonathan Thurston would be a huge loss if he is ruled out for next week, but definitely some talent across the park. You'd be pretty happy with that team?
Yeah. No, I think it's a good side. Just Boyd's playing for Australia and everything like that. Who can you pick, Slater or Boyd? They're both going to do a good job, whoever was going to play. So.
You're not losing too much either way, are you?
Not really.
Well, moving on to the New South Wales team now, which also came out with some controversy clouding some of the selections by coach Laurie Daly. Boyd Cordner has been named captain to take over the position left vacant by veteran Paul Gallen. And Haynes' selection raised a few eyebrows, with fans suggesting his spot was given purely on past Origin form, saying Raiders star Jared Croker was hard done by not getting looked in for that position himself. Bomber, you think Laurie made the right decision to get Hayne in there on the wing?
No, well, he's in the centres there, but Hayne probably had to be in there somewhere. I know sometimes his form's up and down. He had a couple of great games. Last couple of weeks he probably hasn't been at his best, but they know at Origin, the last time New South won a series, it was because of Jared Hayne. So like we said earlier there, sometimes know on the big stage that Jared can perform, and he normally does on the big stage. So some others in there, like Brett Morris there, obviously that was Tom Trbojevic's position out there, but with him injured there, and obviously Nathan Peets at hooker there, I think Peter Wallace had that position sewn up until he got injured on the weekend, but obviously Nathan Peets is a strong, tough customer.
Well, two former Eels there in Hayne and Peets. They've both finally got Peets has finally got his chance there. That's going to be interesting to see how he goes in the arena, Jay.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's got a bit of speed in there out of dummy half and some good service. So I thought they might have overlooked him, but he's got his opportunity now and time to make the spot his own.
Well, as Bomber said, they were leaning towards going for a veteran in Peter Wallace, but if Peets puts in a good enough performance, possibly just in game one, but if he gets a spot again in the next couple of games, do you think he'd be able to solidify a regular spot in the Origin side?
It's all about making the most of your opportunities, isn't it? And he's got his opportunity now, and it's his jersey, and someone's going to have to take it off of him. Yeah,
well, it's been Robbie Farah for so long. It's going to be different just seeing someone else playing in the Blues number 9.
Well, obviously the Robbie Farah era is over now. I think they were all talking him up there, and then Wallace was there. So obviously Robbie's finished now, and it's club football for the rest of his career.
And Jesse, I think we're pretty happy with the Queensland team, but New South Wales, it's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm getting a bit worried.
I think it's one of the best sides they've picked in years. So, like Bomber said, you had to have Hayne in there. He's too good of a player to leave out, even if his club football hasn't been brilliant. But he's got to be there. So.
Game 1's going to be pretty important in terms of the series. Who do you see coming out on top in the first one?
Queensland, mate.
Yep.
Always Queensland. No, I think it's very important to get the first one, so hopefully we can do it.
You don't think you're not too worried about not having JT in there? He's usually the guide.
I don't know. I still think he's named there for a reason. Maybe he will get a run. I'm not too sure.
Well, we'll have to wait until Sunday to find out. That's it. But Bomber, game 1, pretty important. You see the Blues getting up?
Well, he can like we said earlier, you've got to go into the game thinking you're going to win, and like Jesse said, and I think the same way. I think it's the best New South Wales team, and without Matt Scott, Corey Parker, and who else? Greg Inglis there, and maybe no JT. Like that's a wealth of talent, and they're 4 superstars out of the team. So so we've got to get off to a good win in game 1, and hopefully win it at home. But we'll find out.
Are we tipping Blues though?
Yeah, I'm tipping the Blues.
Excellent. Just want to be able to replay this when we come back next week.
Yeah,
and Jay, what's your prediction for it?
Definitely Queensland. Hopefully Lang Park, Suncorp Stadium brings out the best in these young Queensland side. It definitely is the side with the least amount of games that Queensland's picked for a long time. So hopefully they can get the cookies, and with 2 home games this series. Queensland.
Do you see it being close, or do you see a bit of a blowout going to Queensland's way?
State of Origins are always close. As a Queensland, I want to see a blowout, but I wouldn't be tipping it.
Well, hopefully it doesn't come down to field goals, because Anthony Milford hasn't got a great record in those kind of games. Well, there's also always the New South Wales team looks good on paper, but we're going to see in a little over a week just how good they are against the mighty Maroons at Suncorp Stadium. Coming up next in the program, we're going to be previewing all the action from the upcoming Rugby League Ipswich and Intrust Super Cup competitions. All that and more here on After the 80. Welcome back to After the 80, your local source for everything rugby league. And round 10 of the Rugby League Ipswich competition will kick off on Saturday when the West End Bulldogs host the top of the table team, the North Tigers, who are fresh off a 38-point win over the Eastern Cobras. Jay, West End got a much-needed break over the bye over the weekend. Do you think it'll be enough for them to break their losing streak on the weekend against Norths?
They're going to have to pull some tricks out of the bag, because Norths are going pretty good at the moment. They beat Cobras, who Cobras put it over West End not just the week before. So
See the Tigers as a bit of a dark horse. I mean, I know they've got a good history of being premiers in the competition, but after last year they kind of dropped off a bit, and they've kind of floated under the ladder when we're talking about the top teams.
They wouldn't be floating under my ladder. Any side with Josh Roberts in it, mate, is going to be dangerous at any time of the field, and they've got plenty of guys there. And
Stephen West,
Westy in the middle, and Nava out back. He's devastating when he's on.
And Scanlon, Fairhurst, there's plenty of experience across the pitch, isn't there?
Yep.
So what's Cole's mission this weekend then?
Actually, I haven't spoken to Cole in regards to what his plans are, but he's going to have to be solid all the way across the field. The Bulldogs are improving. Their training's well, but it's another step up for Norths.
Bomber, is there any risk of Norths taking the foot off the gas after a big win last week?
I don't think so. I think Nobby will have them all tuned up again. So. And they can't afford to be dropping games. When you're up the top there, you have to keep. These are the games that you probably pencil 3 points in. You don't always get them if you take your foot off the throttle. So
they'd be pretty happy to see themselves at the top of the ladder at this point in the season as well.
Yeah. Well, if you can North, like they said, if you can fly under the radar a little bit there. Everybody doesn't mention them, but they got off to a slow start. But obviously they've kicked into gear now. Just before we did that, Swiss game is at 3 p.m. on Sunday too. So we've got 7 p.m. So don't turn up there at 7 p.m. We'll probably be in darkness. So.
Well, as we see, the 2 Sunday games are the Eastern Cobras and Brothers Ipswich at Brothers Siri Oval. It's going to be a tough test for the Cobras, and the second game on Sunday is the Swift Bluebirds taking on the Goodna Eagles. Now, Jesse, after the Eagles got pumped by Fassifern on the weekend, do you think they're going to come out firing against you guys on the weekend? Yeah,
it's a good weekend to play them.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be fired up. They'll be ready for a big one. They wouldn't want to lose 2 in a row.
What's the mission for you guys after backing up? It was a physical contest against Brothers. Always going to be hard to back up against another big team in the Goodna Eagles. Yeah,
I think it's just doing all the little things properly, trying to get quick play the balls against the bigger Goodna side, and completing our sets, not giving them the ball cheap, and doing little things.
Happy to see yourselves back at home as well.
Yeah, definitely prefer playing at home than anywhere else, yeah.
And the Sunday games aren't wearing you out as well. It was getting a bit hot there on Sunday at Brother Siri.
Yeah, it wasn't. That was surprising. On Sunday, everyone sort of came in jumpers and that, and that was all gone before we ran out.
Yep.
But
especially when you've got a few forwards that do the full 80, that's going to take a bit of a toll.
Yeah. I don't know how they handle it, but they seem to get through it every week, the big guys. But yeah, they should be right.
They just seem to love their footy. Well, Bomber Eastern Cobras, that's going to be a tough game for them as well.
Yeah, well, that's it. They have put in some good performances this year. Like I've said on earlier shows there, they probably come into the season, they're hoping for one win. They've had 3 wins. They've beaten Brothers, beaten obviously West End twice there. So obviously before the end of the year there, as the year gets on, they'll get better and better, and they might be able to knock over one of the top 4 or 5 sides too. So
I think it'll come down to the Eastern Cobras playing the full 80 minutes as well, because as we saw against Swifts on the weekend, Brothers were still competing right up until the end and almost caused a bit of an upset there in the last 20.
Yeah, well, that's probably where the teams are different. Brothers always compete for the 80, whereas the Cobras, I've watched them a few times this year, they're probably like Newcastle there. They can play for the 50, 60 minutes there, but they just can't play for the 80 yet. So but obviously that's a learning experience there, a lot of new players together. So
scary signs for next year so far. Well, moving on to the Intrust Super Cup competition, and round 12 will be kicking off on Saturday when the Ipswich Jets host the Wynnum Manly Seagulls at North Ipswich Reserve. As always, this game will be brought to you live by the hardworking team of students at USQ Springfield and will be broadcast via the Phoenix Media Hub from 3 p.m. on Saturday. Jay, the Jets had a defeat over the weekend at the hands of the Hunters. Do you think they've got what it takes to bounce back on Saturday against the Seagulls? Seagulls.
Hopefully they can find the form that they've had for the previous 4 weeks and play their Jets brand of footy and put it to Wynnum and Ipswich have a long history of good, hard, tough battles.
Yep.
So be a good one to see.
Do you think they'll be hurting after the Hunters though? They're a physical team. They probably were hitting the ice baths on Sunday.
Yeah, they will be. It's like playing Goodner, I guess, but you just got to back up, find your composure, find your form, and get back into it. Rugby league's a tough game.
Yep. Bomber, you were there calling the game. You saw the signs from the Jets. It was a bit of a disappointing performance from them in the first half. A lot of offloads that weren't going to the right hands and everything like that. Do you think they'll tighten it up for this weekend?
Oh, I'm sure there'll be just a couple of little changes this week. It wasn't hard to see that a couple of the offloads probably shouldn't have been shown on them and thrown, and I'm sure Ben and them did. And they've probably seen a couple of things there with Wes Conlon into dummy half there in the second half, which really sparked them. So, but I'm tipping the Jets to bounce back in a big way against Wynnum this week, so at home.
And any big games of the round for you? I guess the PNG Hunters and Townsville Blackhawks is going to be a fantastic one, with Townsville travelling away to National Football Stadium. That's going to be a tough one.
Oh, well, that's probably the game of the round there, the PNG Hunters and the Blackhawks there. And obviously the TV game, the Tweed, who they've only had one win this year. So obviously a TV game, hopefully on TV makes the Tweed play a bit better, but obviously Redcliffe, they're a strong team all across the park, so that'll be another game that'll be interesting.
And East Tigers against the Magpies, another big one, 3 p.m. on Sunday as well. Finish off the round with 2 big games, really.
Well, obviously they're teams that are in the top 6, East and South up there, so it's, both teams need a win. So.
And Jesse, just going back to the Jets, I guess, going back home, getting 2 back-to-back games at home, that's going to lift the team spirit to have the home crowd behind them on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm sure they're happy to play at home again. They need to string a few wins together now to get in that top 4, top 5.
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating just sitting on the cusp of the top 6 there like that. I guess you really want to be starting to push up at this point of the season, especially when some of the top teams are starting to pull away.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If they can string a few together, I'm sure that'll help them get right up in there. They can't win, lose, and makes it a tough season. And Bomber, I guess, with South Logan as well, I was just going to mention with a few of the Broncos probably looking to pick some players up maybe over the weekend. Do you see them being a bit depleted?
Well, obviously this is a time there, obviously, where the Broncos are depleted and also depletes their feeder clubs, because obviously when they lose Sammy and all them up there, the forwards have to come up from their other clubs, and luckily the Ipswich Jets are not too distracted in this area by ones like South Logan are and I think North as well. So they're the clubs that do suffer a little bit during the Origin period. So
good time for the Jets to strike, I guess.
Oh, well, I try. So.
Excellent. Well, that's all we have time for again this week on After the 80. I want to say thanks for our guest for coming on the show, Jae Woodward.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Always good to have you from the Bulldogs, mate. And Jesse Crossan, good to have you on from the Bluebirds, mate. Good to have a player on the team.
Thanks very much for having me.
Excellent. Well, next time you guys get a win, we'll get you back on. Excellent. And Bomber, as always, big weekend for us.
Yeah, well, it's always a big weekend, but there's always another big weekend coming up the following week. So.
Excellent. Well, next week we'll be covering all the State of Origin action, so be sure to tune in for After the 80 for all your local rugby league action.